have gone through our new Basic Education Act 2013. Our new Basic Education Act 2013, because we have the new Basic Education Act and we have our new Basic Education Framework curriculum that we, the entrepreneurs in the private school, are supposed to be disseminating it, implementing it by 2018. And I would wish to say that private schools, you are a very, very important partner in terms of our education. And I want to speak briefly on the legal framework. Where do we base our education? I know majority of us here, we are businessmen. First of all, we are businessmen. I am sure you did not start your private school to offer education philanthropically. True? We are on business. We are in business. We are entrepreneurs. That is one of the major aspects of us being in the private schools. And therefore, if I may ask, what is the essence or the main idea of an entrepreneur? The main idea of an entrepreneur is to make money, isn't it? But before you make money, then you must start strategizing. Strategizing. What are your strategies? You know, where are we? Where are we going? Where do we want to go? What strategies do we put in place? Because today we have come to interact, for an interaction, to see where our challenges are. I would say that private partnership with the government did not start yesterday. Private partnership started long before. By the year 1990, even before 1990, during the Harambee schools, you remember we had Harambee schools in the early, after the Ominda Commission of 1964. And we had very few high schools that were left by the colonialists. And when they were left few, then the government of Kenya had one main objective of ensuring that education now is no longer based on racialism. It is now ours. It is now Kenyans. So the Ominda Commission was set up by the government to streamline our education system. And when free education was set, and now many Kenyans now started going to school, because before they were not going, then the public schools became less. And the government wondered, now what do we do with the rest of the children that are finishing school and they cannot go to the public, they cannot fit in the public sector. And they came up with the Harambee schools that were there. They were basically society, manned by the society, but they were private schools. And they went on until later on when they became public. They were made public after the government realized that now many schools, there is a lot of dropout rates. Enrollments are, there is a lot of discipline. There is a lot of dropouts and very low completion rates. Then they took them back again and they became public. And in 1990, there was a Jomitian conference that was formed, that where all partners came. And the issue was, how do we ensure that our education is of quality? How do we ensure that all our children are getting basic education? Because basic education is a human right. Based on 1948 Declaration for Human Wants. Those who have read the declaration, the UN Declaration of 1948, they actually declared that education is a human right. So everybody is supposed to go to school. All citizens are supposed to go to school based on that. That is an international framework where Kenya bases its education on. And therefore in 1990, when they formed the Domitian Conference, and then in the year 2000, when the Dakar Conference was held in 2000, and Kenya, being a signatory, signed that. And what did the government of Kenya do to respect the Dakar Conference? That conference, in 2003, what happened? 2003, the government of Kenya came up with free primary education. It was introduced in 2003 after the Dakar Conference, after signing that signatory, that we are going to ensure every child in Kenya has gone through education. They came up with that. And now our challenges, our advantage. Now I'm driving you to what advantages do you have as private schools to ensure that you maximize your potentials in the education sector. Private schools, you stand a very great chance of growing. You have a lot of potential to grow because of these reasons. One is that the government lacks resources. It does not have resources. Research has proved, because at Kenyatta University we specialize in research, and research has proved that the government does not have resources. It does not have infrastructure that the private schools have. It does not have textbooks that the private schools have access to. It is able to manage their discipline because of the ratios. Students, the UN standard, the UNESCO, the UN standard is one teacher into an average of 25 to 40 children. It is impossible for the government to do that. So, as the private investor, you should be taking advantage of that, in the sense that you have become partners in ensuring that education goes to every child, and it is also giving you resources. Another issue, another major problem of the government is that it does not have policies. It has no guidelines on how this free primary education, this 100 transition rate should be done. You know, when you are fighting, you take advantage of the weakness of the other partner, isn't it? You take the advantage of that. So the fact that these people do not have guidelines, you who are entrepreneurs, you've been given an opportunity by Elimu TV. You can use the strategies here to ensure that you set your guidelines, to ensure that you expand your boundaries in ensuring that you are taking advantage of this. What is this basic education, free, that is supposed to be implemented by 2018? Are you aware of it? Are you prepared for it? Are we prepared? So the government is again, maybe, we are saying that, as a critique, we are again saying that we are coming up with a policy that may end up giving us worse results than the ones that we are shading away. And therefore, as private investors, we are supposed to partner with the government in ensuring that we advise the government, or we prepare ourselves in our own institutions in making this implementation a better way of disseminating education. We need to partner. But I want to thank the director of Elimu TV because he has brought us together here as private investors. We should take this advantage of being here together. I know private schools have an organization that is called what? KEPSA. Yes, through KEPSA. We should be ready, we should be able to come up with a strong a strong group, strong leadership, which is going to advise the government on which way our curriculum can be best implemented to ensure that we are not just going to get output. You know, when we get output, it is all the children have finished school. But is that the main aim of our organizations? Our main aim of instilling education is the outcome. The main part of the knowledge and skills that we are instilling in these children outside there. Are they helping in developing the nation? Are they assisting in developing themselves? Because outcome is what is important. And that is why when we look at our millennium goals, when we look at our millennium goals, our goal, which goal in our millennium goals deals with our sector? Millennium goal number? I am challenging the private investors that you need to put these documents on your fingertips, because unless you have them, then you will not be able to move on and get the right objectives. You will not be able to achieve the outcome that we need as education. Remember, being private investors, we are guided by our philosophy. We have our national goals. You know, I'm a teacher, I might start asking, what is the first national goal? What is the second national goal? Our national goals of education. That should be our base. We are anchored. Our schools are anchored on our national goals of education. And our national goals of education are around 8. So our national goals of education, where are they based on? Our national goals of education, one of them, the first one. What is our first national goal? What is our national goal? Number 1? Directors, teachers, what is our first national goal? Because at least the others may be hard. At least one. I need one national goal of education, because our schools are anchored on that, on our national goals of education. Anyone who knows one? Yeah. Fostering unity, yes, it is very good. Our first goal is promoting, fostering national unity, cohesion, patriotism. Patriotism, cohesion, and national unity. Those are the second goal is to develop our own personal development, fostering personal development. Then you have other goals following, and fostering our culture, our varied cultures, ensuring that our varied cultures we're able to live together. And then there's still the other one, fostering and our environmental development, and of course international. So all those, we have our goals, and those goals are anchored on those international framework. The Dakar Conference, the Jamitian Conference, where members of the United Nations, the Commonwealth, meet and discuss which way do we go in education. Which way do we go? So Kenya cannot stand and say we are making our own goals. They must be anchored on the international framework. And this framework is what we are now calling, we started with the UN Declaration of 1948. Then we came together, we have very many, we have the Addis Ababa, we have until 1990 when we had the main one, which was the Jamitian, and then it was revised in 2000 by the Dakar Conference, which in the Dakar Conference, that is where the free primary education came from. And then from there we came up to the Millennium Goals. The Millennium Goal number 2 deals with our education system, ensuring that there is 100% transition. The director has talked about it. That all our children get education, at least basic education. And then after the Millennium Goals expired in 2015, all those goals were supposed to be achieved by 2015. When they were not achieved, at least they were achieved around 60%. If you read the UNESCO report for the Millennium Goals, then you realize that we are still very far in achieving transition rates to 100%. We are far from achieving the enrollment rates. Our gross enrollment rates are very high, but we are having many children still not in school, in arid areas and semi-arid areas, and even in our area. So we still have a lot to achieve. And as the education system, when they were not achieved in 2015, again the United Nations and the other partners came together and sat and came up with what? What is now guiding us in our education system? What is guiding us in our education system right now are the sustainable development goals. We are now being guided by the sustainable development goals. When in 2015, when the United Nations plus the education partners came together and formed and sat down and reviewed whether they have achieved the Millennium Goals, they sat and said that they need to renew, to come up with other guidelines that are going to guide us being part of that group, the partners to the education system. And they came up with the the Sustainable Development Goals. They came up with 17 goals. 17 goals. Some are basing on environment, health, eradication of poverty. Yes, environment, ensuring that there is cohesion, international cohesion and the rest. All that. They came up with 17 goals and 169 indicators. 169 indicators that are going to help us move on. So those are our sustainable goal number 4. Our sustainable goal number 4, we should be aware of that. Hata kama hatujui zile zingine, tunahitaji kuwa tunajua hiyo namba. Because our sustainable goal number 4 is that we anchor our work. Our schools are anchored on that sustainable goal number 4. And that sustainable goal number 4 has gone ahead to improve on the Millennium Goal number 2. Because the Millennium Goal number 2 and the free primary education emphasized so much on access at the expense of quality. It emphasized so much on access. Serikali ilikuwa tunataka watoto waende shule. Lakini they did not emphasize on quality. And that is why we are seeing our economy the way it is. Very many youth who have nothing to do. They have degrees. We killed all our technical colleges. We killed all our vocational colleges. We killed everything so that our children can be graduates. We ended up getting a lot of very high output, but very low outcomes. Very high output, because unaingiza wanatoka wako na degrees, lakini hizo degrees, there are no outcomes. We don't have any outcomes. And that is why the government came up again with the Odhiambo Task Force of 2011, when the Odhiambo Task Force was supposed to be aligning our education system. I'm sure we should be aware of that. It is supposed to align our education system with the what? This task force of Odhiambo of 2010, it was supposed to align our education system with the Constitution. How many of us have gone through the Constitution? Our Constitution of Kenya. Hey, you guys. Those are the challenges that we are already discussing about the challenges. We are already looking, Cindy, we already know our challenges as private. Maybe those are some of the things that we need to know to improve our schools. Because if you don't know our Constitution and what it says about our education and what it says what you will do, if you do, you deal with the child. What it says how you do, if you deal with integrity, issues of procurement, issues of planning, then you may not be able to be a very good planner. As a planner, you need to know about all these things that revolve around your area. And that is why I've challenged you by asking, how many of us have a strategic plan? Because in a strategic plan, in a strategic plan, you look at your SWOT analysis. When you are looking at your SWOT analysis, you're looking at your strengths, you're looking at your weaknesses, you're looking at your opportunities, you're looking at your threats. So, when you're looking at your strengths, because here we are interacting, so I don't have to give notes. We are interacting. We are looking at our challenges. And we are saying that one of our challenges is that we are not conversant with our education documents. We are not conversant with our education documents that guide us. And therefore, we are not also conversant with our Constitution. We are not conversant with our national goals. We are not conversant with the international frameworks that guide us as entrepreneurs. We are not conversant with the targets and the indicators that we should be looking at. Because as a teacher, as an entrepreneur, you should be having some targets that are guiding you. Where do you want to go? Unless you have a target where you want to go, you may not be able to know how you will go. Because you don't know whether you will run, or you will walk, or you will take a flight. So there must be, you must set strategies, and you can only set strategies if you have a plan. So I am challenging my fellow entrepreneurs that we need to come up with a strategic what? Plan. A strategic plan, that will be the first thing that you will discuss. A SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities. What is the impact of this transition, basic education in relation to my school? Do I have enough infrastructure? Do I have? Yes, I want to take advantage that the government will not be able to take. I want to take advantage because the government will not be having enough funds. But do I have? So you are analyzing. Do I have enough teachers? Am I able to accommodate? Will I be able to buy the dummies and the models that the government is talking about? So you are looking at your school internally. And then you go out, because a school cannot work without outside. And that is why I'm challenging you, because unless you know what those other documents are talking about our schools, then you will not be able to go well, to move well, to progress well. And that is why we are talking about PESTEL. PESTEL means, P means the political environment. P is political environment. Then we have the E, which means economic, social, technological, ecological or demographic, ecological, and then legal. So you are looking at, now we are looking, we are supposed to look at the impact, and therefore I'm looking at the impact in terms of how far have you planned your school as an entrepreneur? How far are you looking outside there? And unless you know the Constitution, you will not understand the political environment, will you? Unless you know the legal, you will not be able to understand how your school is related to the legal framework of the nation. unless you know, you read about the economic survey. For example, if you want to know, like now, due to the political instabilities in our country, if you read our economic survey for last month, our growth rate has reduced from our growth rates have reduced because of the political environment. They have reduced from 5.6 to 5.1. We were ranging around 5.6, and now it has gone down to around 5.1. And we do not know where it is headed. Why? Because of that. Because of the same environment, what is happening to our economic? Hata sisi wenye entrepreneurs, we are still pressed by that. We don't have money. Si ndio? Hata walimu wetu wengine wameenda December bila mshahara kwa sababu hakuna pesa. So that is the analysis we am challenging you as the people. The impact of that, you will have to look at that. If we are going to really assist the government, if you're going to take advantage, not assisting, taking advantage, because as an entrepreneur you are looking for the competitive edge. So you are looking for the competitive edge. If you have to grasp the competitive edge, then you must do that. You must look at that so that you're able to move on together. So in that case, you're saying that the impact of this free basic education, it is not free per se. The government is not giving any free education. The government is not, by the way, the government has been giving free education. And has it been free? And you guys are very lucky because many of us parents, me being one, I'm a teacher in a public school, I've been a teacher in a public school. I take my children to the private school, but I am teaching in the public. Why? Because you guys are giving us better services. But if I come and stand here and talk to you and I hear, none of you know about the Children Act. None of you know about the legal framework. None of you know about the Riot Act. None of you know about all these things. Then I will start wondering and I will start influencing my other. Unajua hawa watu hata hakuna kitu wanajuaga. Unajua hizi shule zao sijui wanazianzaga wakifanya nini. I don't know where they base their schools on. So I want to challenge you that when we interact, we are actually interacting so that we grow, isn't it? But I believe, and I want to tell you that researches show that we are having a major challenge in the new basic curriculum framework. How is our new basic curriculum framework? Because that is what we are talking about. How many years? How many years? Pardon? Pre-primary? Primary? Secondary? Secondary? Junior secondary? Senior secondary? University? Not 3. From 3. Yeah? So what are we prepared? Do we even know any of the schools where the government is piloting? Is there a school where the government is piloting the new curriculum? Very good. So this people you should now start interacting with them because you need to know what exactly is the requirement. What exactly does the government doing to ensure that the new curriculum is implemented? But again, I am also challenging the government here, if there is any government officer. Because when you pilot 2 schools in a county where there are 3,000 private schools, then it means 6,000 private schools. Then it means that there's still a big gap, isn't it? Yes, and therefore, do you think we are prepared? Do you think we are prepared?
Not fully.
Not fully. So that's a parting shot. That's a parting to all of us. Because we are partners in the government, in this very serious sector of education, because the education sector, much as we are entrepreneurs, is the most important sector in an economy. Remember, we have our blueprint. What do we call that blueprint? Our blueprint in Kenya. That is the blueprint that we have in Kenya. that is headed to ensure that Kenya becomes a middle-level economy by 2030. It's called Vision 20. It is only education sector that is going in the social pillar that is going to ensure that this country goes to where we want. It is only education. And we being partners, we should take that mantle very seriously. Because unless we partner and partner well, so that we don't just get outputs, but we get outcomes. So that together, we shall all be proud to say, yes, this Vision 2030, I am part of it. But if we emphasize on getting money, producing output, without outcome, then at the end of it all, then we shall all be there to cry as Kenyans. We all want to leave a legacy. So, in that case, because that is a parting shot, we have KEPSA. KEPSA, my recommendations, what are my recommendations? I know I was given some little time. What are my recommendations is that KEPSA should pick up, yeah, through Elimu TV, spread the word. Talk about it to the government. Let the government know that, yes, it is true. We play a very major role in ensuring that education sector succeeds. But with this new curriculum, we don't think we are prepared because of this 1, 2, 3. If you air it in Elimu TV, then I am sure even everybody will be interested to know. And maybe those policymakers who make from top to bottom, without considering us who are here teaching, because they should have asked us whether we are ready, isn't it? We should have been the first stakeholders to be asked, are you ready? So that we come. Sindio? Lakini kwa sababu ya hiyo, then sasa tutatumia Elimu TV. Tutatumia KEPSA. Wakubwa wa KEPSA wako wapi? Tutatumia hao wale wakubwa wa KEPSA. Tutatumia any avenue. If you are near the DEO or the county director, tumia hao. Air your view about what you feel about this. Because this is not a short-term project. This is a long-term project that is going to have a long-term impact in this country. When in my opinion as a planner, as an economist, I felt that if 844 was started well and done well and prepared well, then there is no difference between 844 and this new curriculum. True? True? So in other words, we are transferring the problems the challenges that we had in 844 to the new, and therefore to remain new until we start again, we set another commission to start discussing how the free basic curriculum has failed. Are we together? So in that case, I as an economist, as a planner, you know, policymakers, you are the people who are implementing the policies. And therefore you are the people who have the loudest voice. Because we are the people who are on the ground. So through your organization, through the people you interact with, the county directors, chip in and share this so that we see whether we can be able to do anything positive, anything different. Because all these task forces, all these education commissions that we have had, the Kamunge, the Koech, the Othiambo, all of them had positive impact. But only from top to, when policies come from autocrats, by the time they get down, it is very hard to, because we are not even made to own. How many of you have been called to a seminar to discuss about how we are going to implement? Have you been called for a seminar? How many have attended at least one seminar? So we are in trouble. So as policymakers, we have made the policies, but down here we are in trouble. So we are hoping that the government is going to do something about it. So what are my recommendations about how we can deal with our challenges? Because we have seen our challenges. I do a lot of motivation. I speak to Form 4s, I speak to schools in general. And one of the challenges that I've had with your teachers, the challenges is that your teachers work, and you are there. The director is there. Everybody who works near the boss, they work under duress. So maybe you can improve your consultation, because the few staff meetings I have attended, the staff gatherings I have attended after speaking, maybe motivation, and then we have a gathering, rarely do you hear any teacher speak. Rarely. It is the boss, the director who says, the principal says, the director says, the principal says, the director says, and the teachers will be asked, any question? Any question? Have you understood? Yes, you will do this, you will do this. And in leadership we say that we have different forms of leadership. We have different forms of leadership. We have autocratic, we have laissez-faire, we have democratic, we have all those, yeah? Therefore, I don't know how you're going to deal with your challenge. So I told you, do your SWOT analysis and your PESTEL analysis and come up with strategies in how do you deal with your workers. Because your workers must produce if they have to survive. So they survive there out of their what? Their grades. As long as you have no grades, you see that, and then that will give them what? Fear of even. Are we together? Those are some of the challenges that research has come up with. That most of the workers in private schools are there to be seen and not to be. Maybe you can look at how you can make your work, your staff rooms and your workers more consultative forums for each other. Maybe you can do that. And then some of us, we have different categories of private schools. We have those up, we have in the middle, we have the ones that are even very, very low, isn't it? How can we partner? Let's partner. Because there's one proverb that says, when you're going up, you're climbing, you don't climb alone, you go pulling it. That is why the director she doesn't want to get rich alone. She wants to pull you people up. Come with me, come advertise, come talk about it, come. So that when you pull each other, the ones that are low, the ones that are in the middle, you will meet at a point economists call equilibrium. So that you will be able to share your challenges and to learn from one another and boost each other. So that you improve, especially the environment. Some of us don't have facilities, adequate facilities. How can we help each other as private investors? An important forum. Yes, and finally, another issue that you can do is, I would recommend is, we are talking about ICT. ICT, how many schools here have ICT department? Again, a small percentage. So this is inevitable. We are in the era of technology. Everything is going technologically, exams technologically, management. How many of us have read about the NEMIS, the National Education Management Systems, isn't it? Yeah, just one or two. We need to get ourselves at our fingertips so that we know where we are headed to technologically. I know you have one opportunity that the government has given you, the digital school, the digital literacy school. How many have heard of it? The digital literacy schools, again a small percentage, guy. Yeah? We need to interact, we need to network and know these things. The digital literacy program the government has started for laptops, it has incorporated the private schools. That is a big up for the government, isn't it? And therefore, the government wants to ensure that even you people become party to it. So do that, follow up and know what is going on. Finally, ensure that through your KEPSA, you sponsor people to the sagas. You know the sagas? The semi-autonomous government organizations that are related to our departments, are related to our sector. That is the Kenya National Examination Council. You cannot do without the Kenya National Examination Council as an entrepreneur in the private sector, isn't it? So ensure that through your KEPSA, you are represented there. Yes? Through that, you get to the KICD, the curriculum and the policy makers in terms of our curriculum, our instructional materials. So be party to it so that you own the projects. Be party to the national education boards. Be party to the county education boards, to the ministry, so that you are aware of the policies from top, and so that when you come to your school, then you are able to ensure that your schools are doing well. I am sure when you do that, you look at the policies, the impact will be positive. We will have a lot of positive impact. But one thing I know, the parting shot is that there are challenges. But when challenges come, the strongest person is the person who overcomes those challenges. So besides everything, you're going to overcome them. After all, we've come from far. So if you cannot fly, you're told to do what? If you cannot fly, run. If you cannot fly, you run. And if you cannot run, you walk. And if you cannot walk, you crawl. That is the parting shot that I want to leave you with. That we are the private entrepreneurs, the potentials are there, and you have all the potentials to go very far. If you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But ensure that every day you are doing what? You are moving slowly, slowly. A journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with one. I hope I have shared with you something, and I thank you so much for listening to me.